Today on I'll Tell You, the culinary soap opera written by Laura Esquivel, Like Water for Chocolate. It all begins in the Garza kitchen, while Tita's mother, who still carries her in her womb, is chopping onions. Tita then cries from inside her belly, crying so hard that Nacha, the half-deaf cook, could hear her. One day the sobs were so intense that they brought on an early labor, and Tita arrived into this world prematurely. As you can imagine, the customary spanking wasn't needed, since Tita was already born crying, perhaps because she knew her oracle determined that in this life marriage was denied to her. This unusual birth ensured that Tita felt an immense love for the kitchen, and would spend most of her life within its walls, practically since birth. When she was only 2 days old, her father died of a heart attack, and Mama Elena's milk dried up. Nacha, the ranch cook who knew everything, offered to feed the child. The girl grew up among the stoves, healthy and rosy-cheeked, but afraid of the outside world that lay beyond the kitchen door. To her sisters, Rosaura and Gertrudis, however, the kitchen seemed a world that was unpleasant and full of dangers. When Tita was 15 years old, she announced with a trembling voice to Mama Elena that Pedro Musquiz wanted to speak with her. The mother replied, "Well, you had better inform him that if it's to ask for your hand, he should not bother. He would be wasting his time and mine. You know very well that as the youngest daughter, it is your duty to care for me until the day I die." And with that, the discussion was over. One day, as Tita and Nacho were preparing the Christmas rolls, Mama Elena entered the kitchen to inform them that she had agreed to Pedro marrying, but with Rosaura, Tita's sister. Tita felt as if winter had suddenly struck her body with a great blow. The cold was so intense and so dry that it burned her cheeks, turning them red like the color of the apples in front of her. On the day of the engagement dinner, Pedro approached Tita and told her he was only marrying Rosaura to be near her. He confessed his love to Tita and made her promise that it would be reciprocated. When the set date for the wedding arrived, Tita was the head cook for the event. She prepares the chabela cake, for which she uses some 170 eggs. Pedro visits the house to hand out the wedding invitations. At one point, he and Tita are alone. He promises he loves her and that marrying Rosaura will achieve his goal of being close to her. Tita grows angry, feeling rage that she cannot marry him. Her sadness over Pedro's marriage to her sister Rosaura is so great that her tears fall into the wedding cake she was preparing. And when the 180 guests at the banquet taste the cake, they are overcome with immense sorrow and weep torrentially, abandoning the party. The only person unharmed by such an intoxication is Tita, who goes to Nacha to tell her what happened, and finds her dead in her bed with the photograph of her former fiancé, the one Mama Elena scared away. Born in Mexico in 1950, Laura Esquivel is a writer whose works include Like Water for Chocolate from 1989. The novel earned critical and popular acclaim and was successfully adapted into a film. Laura is one of the most distinctive voices in contemporary Mexican literature, globally recognized for her ability to weave narratives that combine the magical with the mundane, and the historical with the personal. Her work not only captures the essence of Mexican culture, but also delves deep into human roles and emotions, particularly from the feminine perspective. Following Nacha's death, Tita became the official cook of the ranch. She receives roses as a gift from Pedro. Mama Elena, upon seeing the gift, forces her to throw them away. But our protagonist decides to use them to cook quails.
This dish causes Gertrudis, her other sister, to be possessed by an aphrodisiac heat that makes her flee naked with a revolutionary soldier. A few days later, Mama Elena is told that Gertrudis was seen in a brothel, and with total ruthlessness, Mama Elena orders all of her daughter's belongings to be burned. The marriage between Pedro and Rosaura is sad and complex, made even harder with the arrival of their son Roberto, who is adored by his Aunt Tita. However, since his mother is unable to breastfeed, this task falls to our protagonist, who does it in secret with Pedro's complicity. One day, Tita was preparing turkey mole with almonds, grinding the almonds with the full strength of her feminine body. Pedro enters the kitchen and sees Tita's breasts shifting, revealing themselves with every bend. Tita reacts, stopping her work to raise her two breasts above Pedro's gaze. But just then, Chencha enters and interrupts them. Mama Elena, suspecting that the romance between her daughter and son-in-law continues despite her prohibitions, forces her daughter, Rosaura, Pedro, and Roberto to move to San Antonio, Texas. A few weeks later, the fateful news arrives. Roberto, her sister's son, whom she loved and nursed, died as a result of a feeding rejection. Tita blames her mother for the child's death, and Mama Elena beats her until she bleeds. The young woman locks herself in the house's dovecote, and the next day, the family doctor, John Brown, seeks her to commit her to an asylum as demanded by her mother. However, John Brown does not follow Mama Elena's orders. He takes Tita to his own home, where he cares for her with diligence and love. John was a widower. He lost his wife when she gave birth to his son, Alex, with whom he shared the house. At first, Tita refuses to speak, won't leave her bed, or eat what Kati cooked for her. She is convinced to have tea with him in the afternoons. John falls in love. He begins to treat her, speaking kindly, but although she pays him attention, Tita says no word. One afternoon, John shows Tita a scientific experiment where he lights up a light bulb using oxygen gas and a match. The resulting incandescent combustion astounds them both. John then explains that we are all like matches. We need someone to strike the passion in us.
Tita reflects on John's words and decides never to return to the ranch, staying far from Mama Elena. Tita slowly begins to speak again, and John falls in love with her, asking her to marry him. That very day, Chencha arrives from the De La Garza ranch. Chencha visits Tita at John's house, bringing her oxtail soup. They catch up, and Chencha gives Tita a letter from her sister Gertrudis, who thanks Tita for sending her clothes after she left home. The two immediately begin to cry. John, seeing that he is unneeded, leaves, but Tita stops him by calling his name. Our protagonist then learns from Chencha that Mama Elena has forbidden anyone to visit Tita. As Chencha returns to the ranch, she wonders what excuse to give Mama Elena for being late, but upon arriving, they are assaulted. Chencha is raped, and Mama Elena is paralyzed from the waist down due to a blow. Upon hearing this, Tita returns home to care for her mother, but despite this, Mama Elena despises her and refuses her food, implying it is poisoned. With the clatter of horses and gunshots, Gertrudis, Tita's sister, returns to the De La Garza ranch, commanding a revolutionary battalion. She is also married to Juan, the soldier with whom she ran away. She had returned to show her mother that she, Gertrudis, had triumphed in life. Tita receives the guests, and the family shares the Christmas wreath brats. Gertrudis stays for a year and gives birth to a mulatto child. Tita discovers her mother's true past when she finds a locked chest. Reading it, she learns that her mother had a great love, a mulatto man whom she was not allowed to marry. Her grandparents, discovering the affair, forced her to marry her true father, but Mama Elena continued to visit her lover. Gertrudis was the fruit of this love. Mama Elena, upon learning of the pregnancy, tried to escape with her lover, but someone killed him that night while he waited for her. Tita's true father died of a heart attack the day he learned Gertrudis was not his daughter. Tita's mother continued to despise her, distrusting her, and thinking she was poisoning her. For this reason, after every meal, Mama Elena would drink a glass of ipecac wine, a powerful emetic, and this ultimately kills her. With Tita's mother dead, the birth of Esperanza, the second daughter of Rosaura and Pedro, fills the family with joy. However, Rosaura assures a fateful destiny for her daughter. Like Tita, she must remain single to care for her until her death. Hearing this decree, Tita is enraged, considering it an act of cruelty to impose such a task on Esperanza. Tita did not just create flavors and delicacies in her cooking, she also expressed feelings and emotions through it. Angry and frustrated by her niece's fate, she prepares a meal in which she expresses her frustration with her sister Rosaura, who married Pedro knowing he was in love with Tita. Rosaura, filled with bitterness and sensitive to the food Tita prepared, dies accidentally poisoned. With this, the grim family tradition that condemned the youngest daughter to remain a spinster caring for her mother finally ends. Time passes, and Tita and Pedro slowly resume their romance, even having secret relations. Our protagonist questions whether to accept John Brown's marriage proposal or embrace the illicit passion of her relationship with Pedro. On a visit the doctor makes to Tita's house to introduce her to his aunt and ask for her hand, Tita confesses that she is no longer a virgin and is unsure if she loves him. Dr. Brown tells Tita that she must decide whether to stay with Pedro or choose him, as he promises her a life of happiness and abundance. Years later, Tita's niece Esperanza has grown up beautiful and healthy. She becomes engaged to Alex, Dr. John Brown's son. When the wedding is over, Tita and Pedro can finally be alone. The intensity of their encounter is so great that Pedro dies instantly. Desolated, our protagonist decides to reunite with her beloved soul. To do this, she reconstructs the fire between them by eating matches and recalling old moments of passion. Sparks begin to shoot from both of their bodies, setting everything ablaze, like an erupting volcano, burying the entire ranch in ashes. From the fire, only Tita's cookbook survives. And so concludes this culinary drama written by Laura Esquivel. Do you believe injustices exist just for being born a certain gender or being the youngest in the family? Have you ever felt passion for cooking, and do you believe that a people's culture is passed down through traditional dishes? Are our own parents sometimes the worst enemy we have? Leave all your reflections in the comments. If you liked this summary, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to motivate me to keep summarizing works of universal literature, you can support me by buying my book, The Spectacle of Life. Details are in the description. A hug, and until next time.